All right, today we're diving into something really special. One of the wildest, most unconventional engines ever put into a car, the Wankel Rotary.
I mean, just think about that for a second. An engine with no pistons jumping up and down, no valves opening and closing, no crankshaft. How is that even possible? Well, the answer is this absolutely brilliant spinning triangle that it completely flips the script on how you turn fuel into forward motion.
So here's what we're going to do. We'll break down what makes this thing tick, see how it actually works, put it head-to-head with a normal piston engine, get into the good and the bad, and then we'll look at where this crazy engine ended up.
Okay, let's get right into it. What makes this engine so different? You see, the Wankel wasn't just, a slightly better version of what already existed. Nope. It was a total reinvention, a completely new page in the book of internal combustion.
And this right here, this tells the whole story. On one side, you've got a conventional engine. Look at that list. It's a complex dance of pistons flying up and down, rods, cams, valves, all this reciprocating violence. But then you look at the Wankel, it's just elegant. It throws almost all of that out. At its heart, you've got just a couple of major parts. And the best part? Everything just spins smoothly.
So how in the world does it pull this off? Well, it all boils down to this one magical part, the rotor. And yeah, it basically looks like a puffy, rounded-off triangle.
But here's the trick. This rotor doesn't just spin in place like a wheel. It does this weird orbiting hula hoop dance inside this very specific peanut-shaped chamber. The fancy name for that shape is an epitrochoid. And honestly, that geometry is the secret sauce. Because as that rotor wobbles and spins, the little pockets of space between its faces and the housing wall, they're constantly getting bigger and smaller. And that is where the magic happens.
And that changing space is exactly how the rotary pulls off the good old 4 strokes: intake, compression, power, and exhaust, just like any other gas engine. But here's the mind-blowing part. All 4 of those things are happening at the same time in different parts of the engine. Think about it. As one side of that triangle is pushing out exhaust, another side is in the middle of its power stroke, and the third side is sucking in fresh fuel and air. It's a continuous overlapping cycle.
And that leads to this absolutely critical point. For every single full spin of the rotor, you get 3 power strokes. 3! Compare that to a piston engine, right? You have to wait for the crankshaft to go around twice just to get 1 power stroke. This is a whole different ballgame in terms of power delivery.
Okay, so let's put these 2 philosophies head-to-head, rotary versus piston. It's really 2 totally different answers to the same question. How do you make a car go?
And this chart really lays it all out, doesn't it? You've got the piston engines back and forth, up and down motion, which creates vibration. Then you have the rotary's pure, smooth spinning. But look at the bottom row. Every hero has a weakness, right? For the piston engine, it's that complicated mess of valves and cams. For the Wankel, it's all about the apex seals. Those tiny little seals at the tips of the triangle. They are everything.
What all this efficiency means is you get insane power density. I mean, look at that number. A little 1.3-liter rotary can crank out the power of a much bigger piston engine. Why? Because it's just firing constantly. It absolutely punches way, way above its weight class. And what about that legendary smoothness everyone talks about? Well, this quote from D-Sport magazine nails it. The power pulse, the push from the explosion, lasts way longer in a rotary, 270 degrees of rotation. In a piston engine, it's a much shorter punch. So in a rotary, the power strokes don't just happen more often, they actually overlap. It creates this incredibly smooth, almost electric motor-like delivery of power. No vibration, just pure spin. But, there's always a catch. Nothing in engineering is a free lunch. And the very design choices that make the rotary so brilliant, well, they're also the source of its biggest headaches.
Let's start with the good stuff, the Brilliance. It's tiny, it's light, it's ridiculously smooth. It has way fewer moving parts, which in theory makes it simpler. And get this, because of the shape of its combustion chamber, it's not really prone to engine knock. That's a huge deal.
Okay, now for the floss. That long, skinny combustion chamber, it's not great for efficiency. You get incomplete combustion, which means, you guessed it, higher emissions and not so great fuel economy. And those all-important apex seals? They wear out. It's the engine's single biggest weak spot.
Plus, one part of the engine is always cold where the intake is, and another part is always scorching hot where combustion happens. That creates a ton of stress on the metal.
And this just drives the point home. Early engineers had these problems with names that sound like something out of a horror movie. Chatter marks, the devil's scratch. This is what happened when those little apex seals would literally start scraping and digging into the inside of the housing. Figuring out how to stop that from happening was like the major challenge to making this engine work at all.
So, with all these pros and cons, where does that leave the Rotary? What's its legacy? Well, it's a real story of incredible peaks and some pretty deep valleys.
I mean, look at this timeline. It all starts back in '57. A few companies flirted with it, but Mazda was the one that truly committed to it, starting with the stunning Cosmo in '67. Then they hit the absolute jackpot in 1991. And now, amazingly, after all these years, it's making a comeback, but in a way nobody expected.
And that jackpot was this, the Mazda 787B. To this day, it is the only car without a piston engine to ever win the 24 Hours of Le Mans. That screaming four-rotor engine is the stuff of legend. It proved once and for all that this weird little spinning triangle could go up against the very best in the world and win.
So that leaves us with the big question, right? Is the Wankel Rotary a brilliant failure? A flawed genius that just couldn't solve its own problems? Or was it an idea that was just ahead of its time? Maybe its true destiny wasn't to be the main event, but to be the perfect, compact, vibration-free generator in an electric car. The amazing thing is, its story isn't finished yet, and that maybe is the coolest part of it all.